Hi, I'm Andy Sears of Twelfth Night, and you're watching liveprog. Enjoy.
Hello there, welcome to liveprog. I am your host Marcel Haster. I'd like to start on a personal note. Dear labels, thank you for re-releasing remastered versions, definitive editions, expanded editions and everything like that. Because those versions give a guy like me the chance to review albums that were released originally when I wasn't a reviewer. Because of that, I had the pleasure to review albums by Red Jasper, Ambient, After Forever, and now I have one that is very dear to me. An album that I have fond memories of, that I have for 20 years and still love very much. Is an absolute prog classic and should not be missing from your collection. Which one? This one, Twelfth Night, Live and Let Live. Being replaced now by this one, the definitive edition. First thing that you notice when you see this is the cover. Now, does this remind you of something? I reviewed Live at the Target, the definitive edition, a while ago, which had the same concept cover, except it had, of course, here the Live at the Target cover. Vitamin P did these covers and I love them for it because I like this whole concept. If you have this one, why would you want to buy this one? And if you have none of them, why would you want to buy this one? Well, I can give you a couple of reasons. But first, the difference between these albums. You have to go back in history a little bit. It's all nicely written down in the booklet and they can tell it a lot better than I can, but in a nutshell. Twelfth Night performed at the legendary marquee venue 2 nights in November 1983. 30 years ago, almost. Back then, they only recorded a couple of tracks with the equipment to be released as an LP initially. Later on, they had some little lesser quality recordings that they added for the CD. They released 5 tracks for the LP and they added a few more, making it 9 tracks on the CD. Basically, this CD is the highlights of the concert. And then we have the definitive edition, this one. This one is the full show, all of it. Everything they played that night in the right order. There's one little difference in it. A track that was played that night, but the recording on this album is not from that night, but from a couple of shows before that, in the same time period, is The Collector. For the simple reason that the quality of the original marquee recordings was not good enough for album. The other recording they had, coming from Geoff Mann herself, was definitely good enough, so they included it. So that's why you still have the full show. This one has 9 tracks, the original LP only had 5, this has 15 tracks. So you can imagine they have a couple of songs added to it. Which songs were added? Human Being, Deep in the Heartland, The Collector, African Red, Art and Illusion, Aspidentropy, still a difficult one to pronounce. Those tracks do not appear on this one and definitely not appear on the LP, but well, you know, the LP is very old. If you have it, you're lucky, hold on to it. But you know, even this one is hard to find. I am very happy that I have a copy because I love this album quite a bit.
Come on, wake up! Who's running this show anyway? Oh, it's up to you. Use your free will, you decide, yes, you decide.
An amazing show. There's a side note, of course, because as I mentioned, you know, not every track was recorded to be released on album. Basically, the extra tracks, the tracks I just mentioned, are sort of bootlegs, you know. You hear that in the quality of the sound recording, but when you listen to the album, you are in the moment of the show. So it doesn't matter that, you know, the quality changes a little bit. The band says that this is their best album, their best-selling album, their most popular album. I can only agree. This is the album I discovered, and when I was thinking of it, I discovered this album in 1993, 10 years after the show and 20 years ago. So, you know, it all comes nicely down together. And what appealed to me in 12th Night, and the reason why I think they stood out and still stand out amidst all other prog bands, is their raw enthusiasm, their power that they have in the music. They don't have this real polished sound. I mean, no, I absolutely love the bands that have a more clean sound, but you know, this band is such an amazing treat, and unfortunately I've never been able to see them live, but I have the DVD, well, unfortunately not with Geoff Mann, of course, but with Andy Sears. But you know, it represents the band, and you see them how well they perform. And when you listen to this album, and it doesn't matter which one, but you know, let's go for this one. When you listen to this album, you know, there is such a lot of music to enjoy. There are such incredible songs, and I have to be honest, and the band is really fantastic, but the frontman stands out, Geoff Mann. He is the reason why I started to enjoy this album so much, because his theatrical performance is amazing. And the highlights, I mean, if you listen to a song like We Are Sane, Fact and Fiction, Sequences, Creep Show, wow, the performance there, his vocals, his whole way of becoming that song is so incredible, backed up by amazing musicians, and wow, absolutely fantastic. This is a classic, and you know, you should have a copy of this in your collection. Doesn't matter which one, but you should have it. And if you don't have it, you have to get a copy of this one. You just have to, you know, no arguments, get it. Because it is stunning music. This album also marks a bit of a change for the band, because this was the last show that Geoff Mann did with the band. He decided to leave and, you know, move his career into another direction. So it is also a bit of a sad song. The band recorded one song especially for Geoff Mann, The End of the Endless Majority, which is a really beautiful song.
When the orthodox and the propaganda war too far. And if you're looking closely, you will see that black is white. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh.
A side note on the additional tracks. There's one track, I knew the Collector from the MMX live album, where it was sung by Andy Sears. Here it's sung by Geoff Mann, so you know, it's nice to hear the original as well. But the one song I only knew from the Mannerisms album, and that was performed by Pendragon, was the song Human Being. But on that album, that was one of my favorite songs, and I'm really happy that I now have the original track, because it is a very beautiful track, and it very much represents what Geoff Mann stood for. You know, the whole lyrics, if you read them, the whole story, it's a very moving song. The last song of disc 2 is also a very moving song. It's a very touching song. I mean, that was the very end of the show. One of the most beautiful songs ever recorded in history. Love song. I got tears in my eyes when I listened to it, and I think you will too. There's such a lot of emotion in that song, so beautiful. This is a fantastic legacy of Geoff Mann. It is a fantastic document on 12th Night, who fortunately are still performing. I'm very happy for that, but I'm very happy that they now brought all the songs from that special occasion, from that special show, on one disc for us to enjoy. And the fact that it's sometimes a little bit bootleg quality only adds to the, well, you know, the whole atmosphere of the show and the whole uniqueness of this document. So I can't say no more. I don't know what to say else. I mean, I said everything I can say about this album. The only thing I can say now is that you really need to make sure you have this in your collection. and listen to it. Enjoy it. 12th Night, Live and Let Live, the definitive edition.
The children may grow happily, safe in the love of all. The earth, a fertile